Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Hang on, we're waiting on somebody else. Tim.
Okay.
No, Tim.
Hello?
Hey, hello.
Go ahead and talk.
Hello,
What's your name?
Tim Smith.
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Go ahead. Speak.
Tim Smith.
Okay, hi Tim. Are you on the Zoom now?
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and start since do you have your camera on or is it just gonna be voice?
It's just voice. He doesn't have a camera.
Okay. You can go ahead and start the hearing.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the August meeting of the Arkansas Oil and Gas Commission at the E&E building in North Little Rock, and I will turn it over to the director.
Just a couple announcements. Well, if you have your cell phones, as you all know, mute those so they don't cause any disruption during the hearing. And you see Commissioner Phillips. It's not that
Yes.
he's in Florida somewhere. He's recovering from shoulder surgery. So he's home recovering from that, but we allowed him to Zoom in today to be on the hearing. So hope you recover soon, Jim, and gotta get ready for next month.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Director. Good morning, Commissioners. I know for the record that we do have a quorum. However, Commissioner Thomas is absent. I need a motion excusing his absence. Motion by Chairman Langley, second by Commissioner Wolford. All in favor, raise your hands. Motion passes. First item on our regular docket docket number 038-2024-06. The applicant is Black Hills Energy, Inc. Mr. Honey is the attorney of record. The subject is the amendment of orders number 62, 68, 34-97 and issuance of certificate for underground storage of natural gas. Location is multiples. County is Franklin. Field is Stockton Gas Storage Unit. Mr. Honey, you are recognized. Before we get into it though, commissioners, any recusals on this matter? Enough for the record, there were none. Mr. Honey?
Thank you. I'll start with the pre-filed exhibits. Exhibit 1 is the legal description or footprint of the existing Stockton gas storage unit. Exhibit 2 is the list of parties who have interest in the existing unit, the pay debt for the existing unit. Exhibit 3 is the legal description or footprint projected to the surface of the Freiberg formation. Exhibit 4 is the list of the parties who have interest in the Freiberg formation. And I note that for storage units, the list of interested parties is both surface owners and the mineral owners. The way it's been done historically is that the compensation is paid half to the surface owner and half to the mineral owner. There's a rationale for that I can go into if you want to, but that's the way it's done, and therefore the list of interested parties is both surface and mineral. Exhibit 5 is structure map. Exhibit 6 is the ISOPAC map. I note that Exhibit 6 has, let me back up for just a second. We filed the application in June, and there were some exhibits that were not ready at that point, and we filed a supplemented the application, I believe in July, with the missing exhibits. So we may go back and forth between exhibits that were filed with the original application and exhibits that were filed with the supplemental application, with the supplement. Exhibit 5 is the structure map. Exhibit 6 is the ISOPAC map. I note that the supplemental exhibit 6 includes an index of wells, and that both maps show not only the structure and the ISOPAC and the contours, but also the legal description footprint for the case, the legal footprint for the Freiberg, and the location of all wells within the underground storage unit and the 1 mile radius. Exhibit 7 is a copy of the notice of this hearing. Exhibit 8 is another plat of the area. This one is filed to satisfy a requirement of Rule D23 concerning requiring information concerning wells in the vicinity. Exhibit 9 is a narrative description of the mechanism of geological confinement. Exhibit 10 is yet another exhibit satisfying another aspect of Rule D23 that in this case lists the wells that penetrate the unit or are within a 1/4 mile or a 1 mile radius, and the purpose of that exhibit is for Mr. Longquist to explain that he's looked at every one of those and has an opinion that none of those wells are a threat to the integrity of the storage unit. Exhibit 11 is a proposed maximum volume. Exhibit 12 is a proposed maximum pressure, again required by D23 that we establish what we believe to be the operating parameters as far as maximum volume of pressure, along with over those calculations. Exhibit 13 is a corrosion monitoring and leak detection program. Exhibit 14 is the emergency response program. Black Hills is a regulated utility. They're subject to federal regulation as well as state regulation. Exhibits 13 and 14 are copies of the corresponding federal operations and maintenance manuals that address the same points that D23 addresses. Exhibit 15 is the proof of publication. Exhibit 16 is my affidavit of service and mailing of the notice. We'll have 2 expert witnesses in support of this application. Richard Longquist is an expert in the field of petroleum engineering. Emily Olson is an expert in the field of geology. Their expertise in these fields, were first recognized by this commission in order reference number 22-2023-04. I will have, three witnesses in support of this, Mr. Richard Longquist, Emily Olson, and then a company witness, Garrett Johnson. I'd ask that the filed exhibits be admitted into the record, that the qualifications of Mr. Longquist and Ms. Olson be recognized and incorporated, and that the three witnesses be sworn.
Thank you, Mr. Honey. Your motion is granted. Those exhibits are part of the record at this juncture. And I will judicial notice of the expertise of the individuals based on their prior acknowledgement in previous dockets. Mr. Honey, I've also got a couple of objections here. I've got one that's looks like an email from Sherry Christie, dated Wednesday, July 31st, 2024. And then I have a letter on Ledbetter Cog Bill Arnold Harrison LLP letterhead, authored by looks like Mr. Charles R. Ledbetter to the director, Mr. Bingle. Also, this is dated August 2nd, 2024. Also noting his objections. I'm going to go ahead, just belt and suspenders, and admit these two documents into the record as well.
I assume we'll mark those as commission exhibits 1 and 2.
We can go ahead and mark those as commission 1 and 2. Any objection to that, Mr. Pinkleton?
I know, since we're on those exhibits, Sherry Christie, her objection was to the effect that she did not want gas stored under her property, but I don't know if she is here or not, but certainly if she is, she will be heard at the conclusion of our group. Charlie Ledbetter is an attorney at Fort Smith. I've known him for years, very good attorney. He has an ownership interest in the area. His concern, which I discussed with him later, was to verify that the commission is not determining compensation that may be owed, assuming the certificate of necessity is granted. And once he found out that the commission is not handling compensation, he said, well, I don't care. I also know, even though compensation is not an issue you have to address, and I'm sure you're very glad to hear that, in spite of what we have to do next month. But I also know that we are in and have been in negotiations, discussions with Lonnie Turner as well. So that aspect of this situation will be resolved downstream, either by voluntary agreement and negotiation or by eminent domain pursuit. That's somebody else's problem, and there's a mechanism to address it.
Thank you, Mr. Honey. Would you be so kind as to call your first witness, please?
Pardon me?
Your first witness.
I did have, before I called witnesses, I wanted to just briefly go over the history to provide some context. And this is already in the record from the, oh no, there was one more housekeeping chore. We have been here once before in order reference number 030-2022-03. And in that application, we provided the commission with an explanation of, and I'll go over it again here in just a moment, of what had happened, the sequence of events, and why, what we were asking for then was just a moratorium, a standstill while we gathered data to decide what to do next. Number one, I'd ask that, or make a motion to incorporate the record in order reference number in the proceedings, in order reference number 030-2022-03.
Motion's granted. That previous docket is incorporated into this docket.
And then just to briefly go back over the history for the benefit of the commissioners. Back in 1968, Southwestern created the stock and gas storage unit. At that time, the storage unit was described as Section 21, a uniform governmental section. What was then a pooling and a spacing unit, and it went forward in the ordinary course of business for 30 years. in the nineties, there was a flurry of activity, and the essence of the flurry of activity was that it became clear that the geological boundaries of the Casey sand that was stocked that then struck the gas storage unit was larger than section 21. And so there were three things happened. One was a class action lawsuit was filed by surrounding owners, claiming trespass, basically. Southwestern filed an application to amend and expand the Stockton gas storage unit so that the legal description of the footprint corresponded to the geological boundaries of the Casey sand. And Lonnie Turner surfaced representing the landowners who opted out of the class action. At the end of the day, the commission granted the application, and the legal description of the Stockton gas storage unit was amended to correspond to the footprint projected for the purpose of the geological boundaries of the Casey sand. And then between the class action and the Lonnie Turner representation, claims of the owners were resolved, amended leases or leases were executed, and everything was in good shape. That situation continued until 2014. Up until that point, Southwestern owned not only the storage unit, but also the commercial wells, all of the production wells in the area. In 2014, as you know, Southwestern divested its basin assets. They sold the storage unit to Source Gas, which was shortly thereafter acquired by Black Hills. They sold the production to Lime Rock. When those two operations separated and were run by independent companies, what Black Hills discovered over several injection cycles is that the gas they were taking out did not match up with the gas they were putting in. And further investigation established that there were a couple of wells that were producing from the Freiberg Formation that had penetrated the Casey sand as well. And those two wellbores lacked integrity. And the end result was that storage gas had been leaking from the Casey into the Freiberg and was being produced from the Freiberg. And at the last hearing of James Hall, who was then with Longquist, testified and presented data establishing that the Freiberg Formation had reported production that far exceeded the total amount of the original gas in place, thus establishing an issue. We came here in 2022 and requested a standstill, no more production from the Freiberg. Let's permission to use the two wells in question as observation wells, monitor, see what's going on, and then come back as we have 2 years later to see with a proposal for what we want to do next. In the meantime, Lime Rock and Black Hills reached an agreement where all of the wells except the two that had integrity issues were plugged and abandoned. Lime Rock assigned to Black Hills all of the oil and gas leasehold rights in the Freiberg, and there was a settlement reached between Lime Rock and Black Hills on the overproduction. Since then, an effort was made to repair the wells, which was unsuccessful. The data clearly shows that there's still communication between the two formations, and that leads as the only logical solution to add the Freiberg to the Casey, make it one combined storage unit, and to operate it as a combined unit. So that's the reason we're here today, is to request that the commission approve the expansion of the description of the storage unit to include the Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Honey. Thank you for laying the foundation. Mr. Pickleton, did you have something that you would like to add?
Yeah, I just want to clarify for the record, Miss Sherry Christie, she sent another email in on August 19th, almost verbatim, the same objection that Mr. Honey referenced in July. I just want to make sure that's part of Commission Exhibit 1. And then the Commission Exhibit 2 from Mr. Ledbetter. Commission staff had a response, and then Mr. Ledbetter responded to our letter indicating, I think we had addressed his concerns.
Why don't we go ahead and mark for second email as Commission 3? I'll go ahead and admit that as well. I don't have that one in front of me.
That's
right.
Thank you.
I think, sir. Mr. Honor, your first witness, please.
We call Emily Olson.
Would you just-
Emily, would you please state your name for the record?
Hold on a
We haven't
second.
been sworn yet, have we?
Yeah, she hasn't, yet. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Please proceed.
Emily, would you please state your name?
Emily Olson.
How are you presently employed?
I'm a geologist with Longcross and Company.
Start with exhibit three, the legal description of the Freiburg formation. It's one of the tours that I tasked you with, determining the contours, the limits of the Freiburg formation that could reasonably be expected to be penetrated by storage gas. That's one of the things I asked you to look into.
Yes.
And you have done that, and have you prepared, well, let me back up. The ISOPAC map, the structure map, show the contours of the Freiburg formation as you interpret the data.
That's right.
And the limits of the area that can be penetrated by, that can reasonably be expected to be penetrated by storage gas. How do you determine those limits?
Between the reservoir extent of the net pay ISOPAC in Exhibit 6 and the structure map of Freiburg formation in Exhibit 5, and those geologic boundaries match the legal description in Exhibit 3.
So the way to take the loose curve line and make it match up with governmental subdivisions was to just do 10 acre squares and then translate that into a section township range legal description. And that is depicted on Exhibit 5 or Exhibit 3 as well as the 5 and 6.
Right. The next task that I asked you to address was a requirement of D23 that the applicant provide a legal description of the mechanism of geological assignment. If you don't mind, your narrative is reflected in Exhibit 9, but if you don't mind, if you would just explain to the commissioner what your analysis was, you came to the conclusion that the Freiburg, when combined with Casey, possesses integrity and what the mechanism of confinement is. Certainly, we can look at the cross-section provided in Exhibit 9 and walk through that. The structure map on Exhibit 5 and the ISOPAC on Exhibit 6 are aerial views, what can be explained in the cross-section. So in the cross-section, we can see there is a gray strata that's colored across from south to north. That's the overlying shale seal, and it's at least 25 feet thick. It is thicker in portions across the reservoir, but it maintains that 25-foot thickness, mappable across what we've determined to be reservoir quality Freiburg. And that provides the uppermost seal for the gas within the Freiburg and Casey reservoir complex. We also have structural components, and the up-dip limit of the Freiburg within the fault block is depicted there on the right-hand side towards the north of the cross-section. That's a 300-foot fault, or a fault with 300 feet of flow, and it juxtaposes the Freiburg against shale and provides a seal to any up-dip migration or migration to the north. So that forms the geologic boundary to the Freiburg Reservoir. Additionally, we have the inset map on that cross-section is a net pay ISOPAC map. And you can see the greatest, although the contour intervals are too small to be read on an 8.5 by 11, the contour of the greatest thickness is up against that northern fault, and then the sand quality pinches out or decreases to 0 in the west, south, and east directions. That provides the geologic confinement for the 4 cardinal directions, and then we also have an upward limit formed by the shale seal. And that narrative is discussed in Exhibit 9 as well.
In your opinion, as an expert in the field of geology, is the Freiberg Formation, when combined with the Casey Formation, suitable for use as a gas storage reservoir?
Yes,
A couple of housekeeping. The Freiberg is not an source of drinking water, correct?
that's right. There are no freshwater bearing formations that are known or to be developed in the immediate vicinity of the Freiberg Formation.
And there is no oil zones in this area, let's assume.
No, that's correct.
I'll pass the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Honey. Mr. Pinkleton, any questions? Mr. Daly, Mr. Rankin, Mr. Stovall, any interest in this matter? Gentlemen. I don't think that counts, Mr. Daly. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Phillips, I can't see you, so I don't know if you have a question or not. I'm gathering no. All right, Mr. Honey, your next witness, please.
Call Mr. Richard Longquist. I don't know if you-
You swear from the testimony that you give in this hearing is going to be the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Would you please state your name?
Richard Ross Lonnquist.
And how are you present?
I'm chairman of Lonnquist and Company, which is a petroleum engineering and geological engineering consulting firm.
At the hearing we had in 2022, we presented testimony from Mr. James Hall, a petroleum engineering expert, and I understand he was with your firm at that time.
He was our vice president of underground storage engineering and has since been hired away by one of our clients, Spire Energy, their underground storage master.
So you're here to address the same issues we would otherwise have used as James to address.
Correct.
Starting with one of the requirements is a determination by the commission that either to quantify the remaining native gas or to confirm that there is no remaining native gas. That testimony was presented by Mr. Hall at the last hearing. Have you reviewed his testimony inclusions and calculations?
I have, and under that order from 2022, the commissioners voted and agreed with Mr. Hoff's opinion that there is no native gas, that the native gas has been overproduced by gas that had leaked out of the Casey storage formation into the Freiberg.
And did you have reviewed those calculations and you concur with that?
I did.
The first exhibit is a list of wells that penetrate the storage unit or within a 1 mile radius. And one of the requirements of the statute and Rule B-23 is testimony confirming that the wellbores that penetrate the storage reservoir or that are in the immediate area are not a threat to the integrity of the proposed storage unit. Have you conducted that review and examination?
I have, and so the color coding is related in this spreadsheet schedule. The color coding is related to wells within the storage reservoir itself, wells within a 1/4 mile AOR, and wells within a 1 mile AOR. And we have reviewed those wells for integrity, and the wells have either been plugged properly or they have zonal isolation to protect the storage interval from migration, except for the 2 wells in question, the Sam and the Parsley, that are now, as of the last order from 2022, have been converted to observation well status. So those 2 wells, as part of this whole application of combining Freiberg and the case.
The reason we're here is because it became apparent that the Sam and Parsley did have issues with integrity, at least as between the Freiburg and Casey, and that the lack of integrity was permitting gas to migrate from the Casey to the Freiburg. That, of course, begs the question of, well, are there integrity issues in any other well bores or in these well bores above or below? And you looked into that question?
Yes, and so in the last hearing, the commissioners put this in abatement for 2 years for Black Hills to go look at the data and gather more data. And they did, and it's clear today that the Freiburg and the Casey are in hydraulic communication via the two wells in question, Sam and Parsley. The previous operator, Lime Rock, attempted to do squeeze work and isolate those wells, and it was unsuccessful. So why we're back here today is to commingle those two horizons. We've also done, as we do annually for Black Hills, an inventory verification study, which we look at the pressures from all the wells in question in the pool. And the pool is, based on our analysis, is tight. So with the two zones added together, there has been no further losses in the pool.
Moving to the volume of pressure calculations, exhibits 11 and 12 reflect your calculation of the what should be the maximum permitted volume of pressure. And if you don't mind, just go over those two exhibits in your methodology.
Sure.
And confirm what your conclusion is concerning maximum volume of pressure.
Yes, so the statute requires a step rate test to establish fracture gradient. There is not one available. So what we did, if you go to exhibit 12, page 3, there is a table there that lists multiple wells. So in lieu of not having a step rate test, we examined the fracture gradients out of the AOGC records for various wells, either in the pool or around the pool. And this is our conclusion that the average fracture gradient that's in bold is 0.71. And so we have used that in lieu of conclusions for a step rate test. You'll notice in the notes, 3 of them were excluded because we thought they were spurious data. The fracture gradients were in excess of 1, which usually reflects that the least principal stress is in the horizontal direction. So we've excluded those from our calculation. If you'll go back to exhibit 11, calculated max volume in the Freiburg, what we have done is, if you look at the schedule, we have P sub D is 1498. That was the discovery pressure. And per statute, we have multiplied that by 0.75. So how we got to the 1498 is the fracture gradient we calculated of 0.71 times the depth to the top of the Freiburg of 2110. That gets us to 1498 times a safety factor of 0.75. That gives us an operating pressure of 24. And based on that, that would give us a volume in the Freiburg of 4.419 BCF.
Those are the pressure and volume limits that the applicant is proposing.
That is the volume limit for the Freiburg. The pressure limit is on exhibit 12, and the pressure limit is the same 1498 as calculated by the 0.71 fracture gradient times a safety factor of 0.9 as required to give us a maximum injection pressure of 1348. That would be PSIA.
Then one housekeeping detail, Rule B20 description of producing intervals, lying above or below the underground storage reservoir, and you look into that to, give an answer to that question.
We have. So currently, there are no producing horizons below the Casey or the Freiburg. There have been in the past, and I'll list those for the record. All of those have been plugged, so there's no current production below. So historic production below the Casey was in the Cells, the Jenkins, the Ham, the Patterson, the Hale, the Fayetteville, and the Weddington. There is no current, there has never been current production above the Freiburg. And so within the complex of the Casey Freiburg, the only production for the wells are into the storage reservoir in the Casey and 2 observation wells in the Freiburg.
Well, pass the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Honey. Commissioners, any questions? Mr. Wolford?
Just curiosity, on your, the chart, where you determine the fracture rating, the top well is at SAM 120, is that one of the observation wells?
It is.
So that extra high fracture gradient might explain why it's communicated. Perhaps with the other zone.
Usually when I see fracture gradients in excess of 1, that usually means the least principal stress. So when we frac wells, we usually think of wings. And when we see a fracture gradient in excess of 1 PSI per foot, it usually means the least principal stress is in the horizontal direction.
Do you think it's laid down?
It's a pancake frac is what I see. So usually when I see that pancake fracs, when they do happen, we see them geologically in different parts of the world. They're very ineffective on fracking. So you've separated the rock, you filled it full of sand, and usually have no response like we see with a frac job, with vertical wings. So we've excluded those for that reason. We think they're pancake fracs.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
Or both reservoirs solution drive.
These have all been depletion drive.
And that's
Well, the leak is probably an artificial leak between the 2 pools. That will be determined by operations. So Black Hills has not had enough time to have injection withdrawal cycles to fully understand that. Their current plan is not to request any new injection withdrawal wells into the Freiburg. So they're going to keep their current operating parameters the same. So same injection withdrawal wells at the Casey, same surface facility, so same compression, same piping. And they're going to operate that for a few years and see what that looks like. And operate within the limits they're requesting under the application here. And then depending on what they're seeing, because they could come to a firm like us and ask us to model it, but if it's a mechanical failure at the well bores, those are very hard to model between 2 horizons. So I think they want to determine what your question is by operations, and depending on what they find, they might come back to this body and ask for permission to add injection withdrawal wells and modify their surface facilities depending on what they're seeing from an operating standpoint.
Commissioners, if you could be so kind, we can hear you just fine, but when you are asking a question or making a comment, could you pull the microphone close to you, because it is being recorded, and I don't know whether or not the recording is picking up your statements. Yeah. Commissioner Phillips, any questions?
No, sir. And I could hear everybody fine. The only one I couldn't hear was Chris when he was talking.
Right.
No. Well, I'm just for recording purposes only. I just made that statement.
Could you go ahead and repeat the statement again, Commissioner Weiser?
I asked John
solution to, I asked the gentleman if the reservoirs were solution drive or water drive, and he responded that they're both solution drive. And then I asked him what the anticipated rate of withdrawal might be once they start to withdraw from the storage unit. And he did not answer that question directly. But he said they plan to utilize the same operating capability that they experienced historically for 2 or 3 years, and then determine whether or not that's the right rate, or if they might come back and ask for an increase in rate.
Yeah.
Right. Correct.
Did you get that, Commissioner Phillips?
Yes, sir, I did. I could hear him fine then.
Good deal. All right, any other
Thank-
questions from the commission? Mr. Honey, your next witness.
Call Garrett Johnson.
Johnson, if you could. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Garrett, would you please state your name?
Garrett Thomas Johnson,
And how are you presently employed?
the manager of design engineering for Black Hills Energy.
In the 2022 application, a representative of Southwestern named Charles Bayless testified. I understand he is now retired and that you are filling his role this year. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
I just have some housekeeping details to cover with you. One of the boxes that needs to be checked is to confirm that it is in the public interest to designate the property as a underground gas storage reservoir. Black Hills is in the business of storing gas. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is there anywhere near enough gas storage in the United States?
We'd like to see more.
It is Black Hills is a natural gas pumping facility, correct?
That's correct.
Exhibits 13 and 14 are portions of Black Hills operation maintenance manuals, specifically corrosion monitoring, leak detection, and emergency response. Black Hills is regulated by the federal government as well as the state government. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, sir.
And the federal regulations require the same information that the state regulations require with respect to these areas.
That's correct.
And so the information that's provided in exhibits 13 and 14 is simply copies of what the corresponding federal regulations require that are already in place.
Yes, sir. There are copies of sections of our O&M operation and maintenance manual.
And then just to confirm what Mr. Longwood's testimony, the operational plan going forward, if this application is approved, is to make no changes to the infrastructure and to gradually increase the injections and withdrawals from KC and continue to use the San Berkeley as observation wells and gather data for a number of future cycles before making any long-term decisions about changing the infrastructure, perhaps injection or withdrawal wells in the driver or anything of that nature.
Yes, sir. I think he did really well, and I would agree with his statements.
I'll pass it with.
Thank you, Mr. Honey. Commissioners, any questions?
Curiosity question. How many storage facilities do you have in Arkansas?
We have two, the Stockton and Woolsey.
A couple of years ago, you had capacity issues or a shortage of gas when that really cold spell in Northwest Arkansas. Do the storage facilities you have, are they enough for what your needs are, or do you rely on other ones outside the state of Arkansas?
We would like to optimize a lot of growth in our system, and especially during peak demand, we'd like to maximize our usage, rely less on other resources or other sources of gas. So we can always use more.
So what was the reason, just curiosity, a couple of years ago when we had that really cold spell in the winter, that I know there was not enough gas in certain parts of your system? Is this gonna help alleviate that, or are you working on other solutions?
Yes, and we are working on other solutions involving service pipelines to those peak areas of growth, peak demand. So the combination of the two, we believe will make our system more reliable.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
I got one question. So, and he may have answered it then, but will this gas storage be used strictly for the state of Arkansas? Because I know that's one thing that the governor had spoke about, trying, to head off a crisis here that he was just referring to. Or will this storage be used for anywhere?
My understanding at this time is for our customers in Arkansas.
It's just for Arkansas.
I can't speak to the future, and I may actually have to refer to Jeff Danjo on that, who's with us as well. As far as long-term planning, my focus is currently on the customer and the reliability of our system.
Any other questions? Any other questions from the commission? Mr. Honey?
That concludes our presentation.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add before I shut the evidentiary record down?
Thank you. Other than inquiring to see if anyone in the hearing chamber has an issue.
All right, thank you, Mr. Honey. Commissioners, based on the testimony that was elicited, any abstentions from the commission? Now, for the record, there were none. Call the evidentiary record to a close. This matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Motion made by Commissioner Wolford, seconded by Commissioner Weiser. Any other discussion? If not, show of hands, all in favor?
Aye.
I know that there's 7. Commissioner Smith, I assume you are positive as well, or yes? Is that correct?
Who are you talking to? This is Jim. I'm a yes.
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Yes, I'm
All right, well,
yes.
motion passes. I didn't even hear that. All right, next item on the regular docket, docket number 047-2020-08. The applicant is Van Buren Energy Production LLC. Mr. Stovall is the attorney of record. The subject is extension of temporary abandonment status. Location is section 15, township 10 north, range 14 west, counties Van Buren, field is B43 well spacing area. Mr. Stovall, you are recognized, but before we get into that, any recusals from the commission on this docket? No, for the record, there were none. Mr. Stovall?
Judge Fulton, the applicant has decided to withdraw this application, wants to well, further use of economic return service.
All right, so this one is withdrawn, correct? All right. Thank you very much, sir. Next item is docket number 051-2024-08. Applicant is Van Buren Energy Production LLC. Mr. Stovall is the attorney of record. Subject is extension of temporary abandonment status. Location section 22, township 11 north, range 13 west. County is Van Buren. Field is B43 well spacing area. Any recusals on this matter from the commission? No, for the record, there were none. Mr. Stovall, you were recognized, sir.
Thank you, Judge. A list of pre-filed exhibits can be found on page 2 of the application. Those are Exhibit A, a list of parties receiving notice. Exhibit B, a fluid level test, August 16, 2023. Exhibit C, a proof of publication, and Exhibit D, an affidavit of notice to interested parties. The applicant will move to the admission of the pre-filed exhibits.
Motion is granted. Those exhibits are part of the record. Please proceed.
I would also note that copies of C and D were provided to Mr. Fulton.
Noted, and those documents are not for the record.
Judge Moulton, also seated within the table is Mr. Brent Schulte. Mr. Schulte is an engineering supervisor with Flywheel Energy, and he also oversees assets for the applicant Van Buren Energy. His credentials were first recognized in docket number 064-2022-07. I don't anticipate asking Mr. Schulte any questions, but he's here should the commissioners have any questions about this application. In anticipation of that, I would move that his credentials be recognized. And
Granted, he is recognized as an expert.
thank you, Judge. As Judge Moulton said, this is an application to extend the temporary abandonment status for the Deltic 1-22H well. The Deltic well was completed as a horizontal well in the Fayetteville Shell. The Deltic well needs a foamer treatment and a plunger installed, and the applicant anticipates this well can economically be returned to service if no other problems are encountered during the evaluation and workover. The break-even price for the Deltic well is $1.66. There are other producing wells on the pad and other producing wells in the unit. It's my understanding that this well is very high on the list to be worked over. If our application is granted, the applicant would of course agree to the commission imposed regulations on financial assurance and restrictions on transfer. And Judge Moulton, that's all I have unless commissioners have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Any questions, commissioners? For the record, there were no. And then, Mr. Silva, anything else you need to add before we close it down? All right. In that case, I'll call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. Commissioners, this matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Latter has moved to approve. Is there a second? Chair Langley has seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. Big votes. Next item on the regular docket, docket number 052-2024-08, Van Buren Energy Production LLC. Attorney record is Mr. Stobaugh. Subject is the extension of temporary abandonment status. Location is section 22, township 11 north, range 7 west. County is Independence. Field is B43 well spacing area. Are there any recusals on this matter, commissioners? Now, for the record, there were none. Mr. Stobaugh, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Judge. A list of pre-filed exhibits are found on page 2 of the application. Those include Exhibit A, a proof of publication, and Exhibit B, an affidavit of service. Original of those were provided to Mr. Pilkington this morning. Additionally, before the hearing, I passed out an exhibit that had some well production data that looked like line graphs and hall reports. I would move for the admission of those exhibits.
I'm going to go ahead and grant your motion, Mr. Stobaugh. Those documents are part of the record. I just want to be on the same page with you. We are on docket 052, correct? Is that right?
Correct. It should be the Ferguson saltwater disposal well.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Please proceed.
Also seated with me at the table is Mr. Brent Schulte. Mr. Schulte is an engineering supervisor for Flywheel Energy. In that role, he also oversees assets for the applicant Van Buren Energy. Mr. Schulte's credentials as an expert in petroleum engineering, first recognized docket number 064-2022, -07. I would ask that his credentials be recognized and that he be sworn in as a witness.
His credentials as an expert are recognized.
Thank you, Judge. This is an application to extend the temporary abandonment status for the Ferguson 1-22 saltwater disposal well. The Ferguson 1-22 saltwater disposal well was completed as a saltwater disposal well in the Fayetteville Shell. The integrity of the well bore is sufficient to support continued use as an injection well. The groundwater protection is accomplished by a cast iron bridge plug set above the producing interval in accordance with commission regulations. And the well pad is owned in fee by Van Buren Energy. At this time, we call our first witness.
You swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth. Thank you very much, sir. Go ahead and pull that microphone close to you. Please proceed, Mr. Stovall.
Mr. Schulte, could you state your name for the record?
Brent Schulte.
How are you employed?
I'm an employee of Flywheel Energy.
In that role, do you also oversee assets for the applicant here, Van Buren Energy?
I do.
Could you tell the commission a little bit about the history of the Ferguson well and Van Buren's desire to retain it?
Sure. So Van Buren acquired the Ferguson saltwater disposal well as part of a larger acquisition. One of the early actions upon acquisition and the well transfer was to modify the wellbore to properly comply with temporary abandonment requirements. So the cast iron bridge above. So it was during that time that we made the decision that we need to evaluate the well as recently acquired, gathering more data to understand the true need. And so you've got a couple of analyses there in front of you, graphical of that. The Hall plots were generated, which indicate that we're not seeing boundary conditions. We're not filling with the reservoir is not seeing, reaching capacity. We are also not showing any kind of signs of integrity, breaking out of zone. So, and then kind of looking, it gives you the indication of continued injection capability. So when the prior operator stopped injecting, it was solely out of no demand at that point. Injection rates were around 2,500 barrels a day at around 3,000 PSI injection pressure. So well within the permitted limits, and kind of a follow-up review of the bottom hole pressures while injecting. We were well under what would be concerned about. So ultimately, decision was made to review the demand on the Flywheel and Van Buren side. So a review of the potential loss of one of the injection wells that we currently operate, or the potential stand-up of any drilling activity, particularly in the lower Moorfield, which is where this well is situated geographically. That the well's capacity would be required. So given the potential injection capability established through the work there and the potential demand based on either one of those two events happening, led us to proceed with temporary abandonment. So, which leads us to here.
So some the applicant wants to retain the well, basically there's a need for increased capacity from increased production, or because of backup of another well goes online.
That's correct.
And it's your opinion as well, it's the same projection activities.
Yes.
I have nothing further, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Commissioners, any questions? Silva, anything else? Thank you very much. At this point in time, I'll call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. This matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Mr. Washington's made a motion to approve. Is there a second? Chairman Langley has seconded. All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes?
Smith.
Thank you, sir. Motion passes, 8 votes. Commissioner Watson. Next item is docket number 053-2024-08. My understanding, Mr. Stolba, is you are wanting to withdraw this particular item from the docket. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct. The applicant wants to withdraw this application as flood well. Again, on further review, this one's not going to be economic and return to service.
All right, sir. The matter has been withdrawn. Next item on the regular docket 058-2024-08. Mr. Daly, this is yours. Oxley Energy LLC. Subject is unleased mineral interest and uncommitted leasehold working interest integration. Location is section 7, township 9 north, range 24 west. County is Johnson, field is Union City. Commissioners, any recusals on this matter? For the record, there were none. Mr. Daly, you are recognized.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wilson is going to testify and he's gone to the facilities, but I think by the time I get through introducing the exhibits, he will have returned. If not, start with Mr. Gist. The applicant's documentary evidence is summarized and tabulated on its exhibit I. And we will have one expert testimony from one expert who's an expert in the field of petroleum geology. His name is Jeff Gist, and he was recognized as an expert in petroleum geology in order reference number 65-2006-03. We move the admission of those exhibits into evidence and the incorporation by reference to Gist's credentials hearing.
Your motion is granted. The exhibits are made part of the record, including the Exhibit I separate document that you provided, Mr. Daly, and your witnesses recognized as an expert based on his prior recognition as an expert in the previous docket. Please proceed.
We also move that the basis and or other agreements obtained by a number of parties listed as parties integrated, and we therefore move the dismissal of Anita Houston, Kenton Houston, Lori Ross, Chris Ribel, Lori Bazaki, Jackie Anderson, Danny Leeds, L. Freeman Wish, and MMGK Arcoma LLC. I have provided a written list of those names to the court reporter for her use in the transcript.
Mr. Daly, I'm not certain if I can do that. Is that something that the hearing officer typically does in terms of granting a motion of that nature in terms of dismissing parties? Okay.
Integrations are so rare these days that this may be your first.
I think it is. So I wanted to make certain I wasn't treading on ground that I shouldn't be treading on. Your motion, those parties are dismissed.
Our witnesses are Mark Wilson and Mr. Guest. First, Mr. Wilson.
Would you be so kind? You swore affirm the testimony about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth. Thank you, sir.
State your name.
My name is Mark Wilson.
And how are you employed?
I'm employed as the Arkansas Land Manager for Oxley Energy LLC.
And have you supervised the acquisition of leases and other agreements enabling you to drill the subject of this application?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the summary of records which was prepared by landman under your supervision?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, is it true, correct, and the dismissals you just offered up to date as of today?
Yes, it is.
What bonus and royalty terms have you offered for gas leases?
$50 an acre and a 3/16 royalty.
Anyone else offer?
No.
Questions?
Commissioners, any questions? All right, Mr. Daly, your next witness, please.
Jeff, yes.
Hold on, I get this wrong, man. You swore affirm the testimony about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth.
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir.
Jeff,
How long have you employed?
geologist with Oxley Energy.
And have you prepared the geological exhibits, namely the structure map, exhibit E, and the iceberg map?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you will, then please explain the geologic objectives in connection with this.
Exhibit E, it's a done A structure map. Normal faulting is exhibited and oriented west to east. The faulting highlighted in green is down to the north normal faulting, and brown, highlighted in brown, is down to the south normal faulting. At the approximate drill site location, which is highlighted in yellow in the southwest of section 7, anticipating a subsea elevation of plus or minus 3,800 feet. The contour interval is 100 feet on this map.
Yeah, go ahead.
Next page is the in Exhibit E is the done A net sand isopac map. Porosity cutoff is at or greater than 8%. Deposition in this area is trending north to south, and at the drill site location, which is highlighted in yellow in the southwest of section 7, I'd expect to encounter 10 feet or greater of 8% porosity in the done A sand.
Is done your primary objective?
Yes.
However, are there other potential objective sands that you will encounter?
Yes, that's correct. In this area, there's multiple bays.
So the object here is to attempt to replicate some of the production in nearby areas over into this section.
That's correct.
In your professional opinion, what is a appropriate risk factor penalty which should be applied to the interest of an unleased owner who chooses to go not?
I recommend 400%.
Both on the initial well and subsequent wells, if there are any.
Yes.
Questions?
Commissioners, any questions? Mr. Wolford?
Tom, just one follow-up question. It's in your application, but you'll be using the model form JOA?
Yes.
Okay. And your overhead rates are stated in the application. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
I don't have an AFP in my package. Did some of y'all get an AFP?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, just
Any other commissioners? Anything else you need to add, Daly? In that case, based on the presentation from the commission, since you did hear some testimony, any abstentions? No, for the record, there were none. Call the evidence part of the record to a close. This matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? I think Commissioner Westfall made the motion. I think Commissioner Weiser made the second before Commissioner Lawson. All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes?
Yes.
So for the record, there were 8 votes in favor. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Daly. All right, next item on the regular docket, docket number 059-2024-08. The applicant is Merit Energy LLC. Mr. Rankin is the attorney of record. Subject is extension of temporary abandonment status. Location is section 13, township 6 north, range 31 west. County is Sebastian. Fields B44 well spacing area. Any recusals on this matter, commissioners? No, for the record, there were none. Mr. Rankin, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Judge Moulton. The list of pre-filed exhibits appear on page 2 of the application. They are the list of parties received notice is Exhibit A. Exhibit B is the fluid level test. Exhibit C is the proof of publication, and Exhibit D is the affidavit of notice. Originals of C and D have been provided to council for the commission. We've moved for the introduction of the exhibits as listed.
Motion is granted. Those exhibits are part of the record.
All of the applications we got today involve wells that Merit or MMGK acquired from Stevens back in 2022. So they've had them for a couple of years. As you can imagine, when you acquire a large batch of wells, some of these don't really hit your radar until these extended TAs kind of hit an expiration date. And all of these wells, except one, were under a administrative approval of TA when Merit acquired. As for the Peerless Goal 4-13, we moved to extend the TA status. It was originally granted administrative approval in June 28, 2021. The Peerless 4 was shut in prior to Merit taking over due to apparent surface constraints. This one and Peerless 5, which is coming up, are set up to feed into a common compressor. The line pressure is running a little high, and they believe they have some accumulated water in the low. The previous compressor became oversized in 2019. It was removed and the wells were shut in. They'd like to evaluate the production after dewatering the line, installing a small company-owned compressor. At minimal expense, the wells will be economic to return to production at current gas pricing. Prior to the surface constraints and shut in, the wells produced just over 50 MCF per day. There are valid leases on the well sites. The applicant agrees to comply with the commission approved restrictions on financial assurance and on transfer. With that, I would ask the commission to grant the extended TA status.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Commissioners, any questions? No. Commissioner Wolford?
You said wells plural, are we?
So this is the Peerless 4. I believe the next docket number is the Peerless 5. So they're in the same unit.
So the testimony will be the same on both?
It is. I probably should have moved to consolidate those two based on that, but to the extent the 4 and the 5, that the reasons are the same.
Do you have an operation number? You can, they'll support their self with this gas number.
I don't understand the question.
Well, gas is like $1.90 right now.
The information I was given is that they could do that under the current gas prices. It's just their backlog. Like I said, some of these that are in TA status don't hit the radar until the TA status expires. And so now we'd like a little more time to get to them.
Thank you, sir.
Any other commissioners? Anything else you need to add, Mr. Rankin? If not, then I'll call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. This matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Commissioner Wolford has moved to approve. Chair Langley has seconded. All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you yes?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Motion passes 8 votes in favor. Next item is 060-2024-08 Merit Energy Company LLC. Mr. Rankin is the attorney of record. Subject is extension of temporary abandonment status. Location is section 13, township 6 north, range 31 west, county of Sebastian, field is B44 well spacing area. Any recusals in this matter, commissioners? But for the record, there were none. Mr. Rankin, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Judge Bolton. The pre-filed exhibits appear on page 2 of the application. They are Exhibit A, the list of parties receiving notice. Exhibit B, the fluid level test. Exhibit C is the proof of publication. And Exhibit D is the affidavit of notice. Originals of C and D have been provided to council for the commission. We've moved to the introduction of the exhibits.
Commission is granted. Those exhibits are part of the record.
This is the Peerless 5. You just heard me talk about the Peerless 4 in the previous application, but I'll walk back through the justification for the request just to make it part of the record. The 513 was shut in prior to Merit taking over to operations due to apparent surface constraints. The wells were set up to feed into a common compressor. Line pressures run high, and they believe that accumulated water in the low spots. The previous compressor became oversized in 2019 and was removed, and the wells were shut in. They would like to evaluate the production of the wells after dewatering the line and installing a small company-owned compressor. At minimal expense, the wells will be economic under current gas prices, and prior to the surface constraints shut in, this well produced over 50 MCF per day. The applicant certainly will comply with the commission requirements on financial assurance and on transfer of the property. With that, we would move for the extension of the TA status.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Any questions from the commission? Anything else you need to add, Mr. Rankin?
No.
Thank you, sir. At this point, I call the evidentiary record to a close. Matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Commissioner Watson made a motion. Commissioner Leiter is seconded. All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, yes, sir. All right, thank you, sir. Motion passes 8 votes. Next item on the docket 061-2024-08, Merit Energy Company, LLC. Mr. Rankin is the attorney of record. Subject is extension of temporary abandonment status. Location is section 33, township 9 north, range 28 west. County is Franklin, field is Cecil. Any recusals on this matter? For the record, there were none. Mr. Rankin, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Judge Moulton. The list of pre-filed exhibits appear on page 2 of the application. They are Exhibit A, the list of parties receiving notice. Exhibit B is the fluid test. You will note that in front of you, I handed out a fluid level test. The docket number appears in the top left corner of 061-2004-8-08.
Mr. Rankin, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Is this a substitute for the current Exhibit B or an additional?
Exhibit B that was pre-filed. This is we basically got the fluid level test after we filed the application, and that's being completed now.
All right, thank you, sir.
Exhibit C is the proof of publication, and Exhibit D is the affidavit of notice. Originals C and D have been provided to counsel for the commission. We've moved to the introduction of the exhibits.
This was granted. Those exhibits are part of the record.
Earlier, I told you that all of these were acquired by Merit during a TA status. This is the only well that had an original administrative approval, but then had entered its second extension or first extension through the commission. That was done in order number 074-2021-07. Merit asking for an additional 3 years for this well. They would like to look at the TA extension for the Taylor 1A. It has behind pipe intervals in the Jenkins and the Dunn C that look to be economic. They postponed work on the Dunn C already being completed. And in a offset well, it's the Gita Taylor 1-33. The Gita Taylor 1-33 has known casing issues and is currently on a backlog to be worked over this month in return to production. They're uncertain as to the economic life of the Jetta Taylor due to potential casing issues, so they'd like to maintain the ETA status of this Taylor well as an offset, just as they do the recomplete on the Jenkins, just in case something goes wrong with that. We certainly will comply with commission requirements on financial assurance and restrictions on transfer. With that, we would ask for an extension of the TA status for this well.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Commissioners, any questions? Anything else you need to add, Mr. Rankin? All right. Call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. The matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Shall I submit a motion to approve? Commissioner Westphal is seconded. Show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you yes?
Yes.
Motion passes. 8 votes in favor. Next item on the regular docket 062-2024-08, Merit Energy LLC. Mr. Rankin is the attorney of record. Subject is extension of temporary abandonment status. Location is section 7, township 9 north, range 24 west. County is Johnson, field is Union City. Any recusals on this matter, commissioners? No, for the record, there were none. Mr. Rankin, you were recognized, sir.
Thank you, Judge Bolton.
Yeah.
The list of pre-filed exhibits appear on page 2 of the application. They are Exhibit A, the list of parties receiving notice. Exhibit B is the fluid level test. Exhibit C is proof of public, and then Exhibit D is the affidavit of notice. Originals of C and D have been provided to council for the commission. We've moved for the introduction of the exhibit.
Motion is granted. Those exhibits are part of the record.
This is an application to extend the TA status for the Baxter Cater number 2. Was administratively granted on June 28th, 2021. So this is the first extension we're seeking from the commission. We inherited the TA status of the Baxter Cater number 2 when we acquired it in 2022. At the time, the natural gas prices had seen an increase, and they had planned to go in and remove all the tubing and the packers in the hole, squeeze the casing leak, and return it to production. However, before they could do that, the gas prices dipped. Therefore, we would ask for the opportunity to maintain the TA status until gas prices get a little bit more favorable. We believe that that would happen around the $3 per MCF. We can certainly comply with any commission requirements on financial assurance and restrictions on transfer. With that, the applicant would request the extension of the TA status for another 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Commissioners, any questions? Mr. Wolford?
So this is the unit that we just integrated a few moments ago.
It is. There's a written agreement between Merit and Oxley. They are acquiring the leasehold position. We are maintaining the wellbore only. We'd still like to have the opportunity to analyze that, and would like to extend the TA status, but we maintain only the wellbore in this unit. They've just integrated.
So as to the common source supply that's producing there, are you limiting what they can complete in?
So this well was completed in the Casey and the Ralph Barton. Their target was the Dun, which I believe is further down. I haven't seen the exact agreement, so I can only say that I would assume that that would limit whatever Oxley could target with that well. Certainly, they're going to work that out if there's ever any issue with it.
But Merit has no objection that happened earlier on that integration, and
well, we were dismissed out, so we're not a party to that integration, but certainly the agreement we had with them was they would acquire all of our position in the unit. We just maintain the wellbore.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners? Anything else to add, Mr. Rankin? With that, I'll call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. The matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Commissioner Lyon has made a motion to approve. Commissioner Lawson has seconded. Show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Motion passes 8 votes in favor. Last item on the regular docket, docket number 063-2024-08, Merit Energy LLC. Mr. Rankin is the attorney of record. Subject is extension of temporary abandonment status. Location is section 7, township 9 north, range 26 west. County is Franklin, field Cecil. Any recusals on this matter, commissioners? No, for the record, there were none. Mr. Rankin, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Judge Bolton. The pre-filed exhibits appear on page 2 of the application. They are the list of parties receiving notice. Exhibit B is the fluid level test that I handed out to you earlier. The docket number appears on the top left-hand corner, 063-2024-08. Exhibit C is a proof of publication, and Exhibit D is the affidavit of notice. Originals of C and D have been provided to council for the commission. We've moved for the introduction of the exhibits.
Motion is granted. Those exhibits are part of the record.
Merit acquired the AEC2 well from Stevens. It was in TA status. It had been granted administrative approval in September 7th, 2021. This is the first extension requested. They'd like to ask for an extension due to the commodity price environment. They've identified potential recompletion zones, the Morris, and expect to yield 50 to 60 MCF per day upon initial completion. The work would be required is expected to be around $45,000. However, current gas prices, at the time I was provided this information, the return was pretty low. If they were granted an extension, they'd like to target a gas price of around $2.75, greatly increase the return on the work. They would certainly comply with the commission requirements on financial assurance and on restrictions on transfer. With that, we would ask for an extension of the TA status.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Any questions from the commission? Anything else you need to add, Mr. Rankin? Call the evidentiary record to a closed matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Mr. Lawson has made a motion to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Weiser has seconded. Show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes, sir?
Yes.
All right, motion passes 8 votes in favor. Commissioners, the director has informed me that we're going to take a break. Director, how much time should we? We're going to be off the record for the next 15 minutes. We will reconvene at 10:45.
Well, we just need. Well, we're kind of low on personal costs. Yeah, no, it's about what I figured. Man, this shit last time. The reason I want to know everything, I just want to know how to play this. I'll take some too. Check that number for a second. Because that's one thing that kind of make this stuff happen like this. Just so just but it shouldn't fuss like yeah. Yeah. It's just so you fix the road from the heats going through to yeah. That's some final resource. Yeah, no, that's not a big short run, just like Kyle. If you work on that road, you got you know, if you need more than that, get whatever. Put all that in there, pack it out, then go ahead and put a little railroad line on top of it. Yeah.
Remember that. You have these? Yes. Okay. So I'll kick it real quick.
One more thing.
Just one right after. Regular day. There was certainly some irony in all of that. You give us a blessing. Nobody, even though they're standing together. I think those things seem behind.
Okay, everyone take their seats. Hey, Carol, you can stop talking, Carol, now. We're going back on the record.
All right, we are on the record. Commissioners, next item on the agenda is staff docket. It's docket number 054A. That's 2024-08. The operator is Atkins GE. Pinkleton is the attorney of record, subject his request for well abandonment status. Location is section 23, township 15, south, range 19 west. County is Ouachita, field of Wesson. Commissioners, any recusal on this matter? No, for the record, there were none. Mr. Pinkleton, you are recognized, sir.
There's some pre-filed exhibits I would move for admission of. They include Exhibit A, the Commission 1957 Form 2. I would like to point out that we could not find a Form 1 on this operator. That's how long ago this was and how unusual it was to deal with this operator. The Exhibit B is the Commission 1967 Form 3 that we located in our records. Exhibit C is the affidavit of notice. Exhibit D is the notice of hearing. Exhibit E is the proof of public notice from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I would move for admission of each of these exhibits into the record.
Motion is granted. Those exhibits are made part of the record. Please proceed. Please proceed.
Thank you. I'm going to solicit testimony at this time from Mr. Luke.
Swear from the testimony record given this hearing is going to be the truth.
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Looney, can you please explain why the commission staff filed this application in docket number 054A-2024-08?
Yes, sir. We are currently have an ongoing plugging project in the Stevens Field area, which includes Seminary Church and Weston Field. And through our field inspections and data scrubbing through our database and our well files, we determined this well is still present and it's not been plugged. The Weston area is heavily drilled up with a lot of operator changes back and forth. And this is one of GW Linkus wells that got left behind some years ago. We would like to get the order of abandonment, and that will allow staff to moving into our DOI project. It becomes part of that project that's funded by our IIJA grant money.
Mr. Looney, can you tell us anything about this operator as far as any contact we've had in the last several decades?
No, sir, before my time.
Thank you. There's some photographs that are in front of you. I believe they are listed as Exhibit F. Can you please explain what those photographs show?
If you look carefully, the top photograph, basically in the center of that photograph is the well itself. And then the bottom photograph is just a view that where we backed up and taken a picture, and you just see it's in the edge of the woods.
And that's the well that needs to go into the program to be plugged?
Correct.
And I'm listing that as Exhibit F and move for admission of that photograph, or those photographs into evidence.
Motion is granted. Exhibit F is admitted into the record.
No further questions for this witness.
Commissioners, any questions, Mr. Lindy? Anything else, Mr. Pinkleton?
Nothing further.
With that, evidentiary record is called to a close. This matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Commissioner Wolford has moved to approve. Commissioner Weiser has seconded. All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Motion passes 8 votes in favor. Next item on staff's docket 055A-2024-08. MAPCO Production Company. Mr. Pinkleton is the attorney of record. Subject is request for well abandonment status. Location is section 23, township 15, south, range 19 west. County's Ouachita field is Wesson. Any recusals on this matter, commissioners? For the record, there were none. Mr. Pinkleton, you are recognized.
Thank you. I have several pre-filed exhibits I would move for admission. They include Exhibit A, the Commission Form 1, previously filed by this operator. Exhibit B is the affidavit notice of hearing. Exhibit C is the copy of notice of hearing. Exhibit D is the proof of public notice from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I would move for admission of each of these exhibits into the record.
Motion is granted. Those exhibits are part of the record.
This time I would take testimony from Mr. Looney.
Mr. Lynn, you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Looney, you are aware that there is an application that was filed in docket number 055A-2024-08. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Why did commission staff file this application requesting well abandonment?
Similar to the earlier docket, staff through in the field investigations as well as our data scrubbing of computer database along with our well file review indicates that this well has not been plugged. It's in an area that we have ongoing plugging operations, and we want to add that to our plugging project.
Have you had any contact with this operator at any time in the past?
I have tried to remember the local the answer is no. I think I did have some contact, but it was with the local representative. And I can remember that was still in operation because that represented multiple companies at different times. So the answer is no. I can bring it back to you there.
There is some pictures that are in front of you, I believe, referred to in docket number 055A. The link is 3. Do you see those photographs?
I do.
What are those photographs showing?
It is a photograph. The top photograph is of the Lincoln's 3 well, the southern well. In the close-up that we found in the woods. Bottom picture just shows a picture of vegetation of woods prison.
This time I would move for admission into the record exhibit E, photographs that were just presented to Mr. Wood.
Motion is granted. Exhibit E is admitted into the record.
No further questions.
Commissioners, any questions from me? Anything else you need to add, Mr. Pinkleton?
Nothing further.
File the evidentiary record to a close. The matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Chairman Langley has made a motion to approve. Is there a second? Commissioner Weiser is seconded. All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Motion passes 8 votes in favor.
Mr. Looney, is that a welded plate on the top of it? Is that a welded plate on top of it? Thank you, sir.
Next item on the staff's docket 056A-2024-08. Capstone Oilfield Disposal of Arkansas LLC. Mr. Pinkleton is the attorney of record. Request for well abandonment status is the subject. Section 6, Township 8 North, Range 31 West. Is Crawford. Sorry. I'm sorry. All right, the chair says the pronunciation is Massard. Mr.
Manager.
No? Massard. I'm going by the chair, that's all. Any recusals on this matter? No, for the record, there were none. Mr. Pinkleton, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you. There are several pre-filed exhibits we would move for admission that include Exhibit A, which is order number 006-2023-01. Exhibit B is the notice of violation that is dated January 12th, 2024. Exhibit C is the Commission Form 1 Organization Report. Exhibit D is the affidavit of notice. Exhibit E is the copy of notice of hearing. Exhibit F is the proof of public notice from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. We would move for admission of each of these exhibits into the record.
Motion is granted. Those exhibits are part of the record.
Thank you. This one is a little bit different. It is a request for well abandonment, but it is based on the fact that there was not compliance with a previous order that was issued by this commission. At this time, I would take some testimony from Mr. Looney to establish the record here.
Mr. Looney, do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Looney, you're aware that an application has been filed with this docket matter, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that there was a previous order that was issued against this operator pertaining to this well, specifically order number 006-2023-01. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And at this time, based on the conditions of the well and the records that we've been able to review, has this operator complied with order number 006-2023-01?
No.
Okay, why has the operator not complied with that order?
The operator has failed to maintain mechanical integrity. He failed to follow up this order. I think was only effective for 1 year. Based upon that, it may be subject to disabandonment.
And has commission staff gone out to the site recently to inspect the well?
Yes.
I have before you, I believe, 4 photographs that are listed under docket number 056A. Do you see those photographs?
I do.
What do those photographs show?
So the top left is the entryway. Top right indicates an overview of the distance of the facility. Bottom left, if you will, is a little bit close up. You have a wellhead with some of the equipment in the background. Bottom right is a gauge and supporting post that goes around the fence, barricaded wheel. Second page, similarly, the inspector took another picture of a gauge coming off the angles as well. Top right is just a picture of the tanks in place. Bottom left is a little bit of the sump or vat, if you will, inside the containment area. Bottom right, another picture within the containment area showing some associated piping and loose hoses and like stormwater that's present. Top of page 3, some more of the equipment present. Top right is, I guess, might have covered the doghouse, but some sort of building structure that was used there. And bottom left is just a tank that was set off to the side a little bit from the facility, but still there within the facility.
This time I would move for admission to evidence exhibit G, the photographs that were just described by Mr. Looney.
Motion is granted. Exhibit G is made part of the record.
For clarification, Mr. Looney, there are no records that we have of a completed mechanical integrity test at this time on this well, correct?
Not completed within the time frame required, yes.
And this well has not been restored to any type of use?
That's correct. The well has not been restored to any kind of use. The operator has failed to maintain requirements of the order, even their corporate structure with us and with the Republican Secretary of State.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Pimpleton. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Looney?
Mr. Looney, is this that young man that come before us A year and a half ago?
In Hot Springs, perhaps. He was the grandson
Yes.
of the owner, and he couldn't answer a lot of questions because he kept referring to his dad, primarily the grandfather. Yes, sir, it is that person you're thinking.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners? Hello?
Well, yes.
Yes, they are. We will be pursuing enforcement to recover those bonds at the correct time.
I've got any idea how much bond is put up?
Believe 50,000 for each well. I may need to confirm that with commission staff.
Any other questions from the committee? Anything else you need to add, Mr. Pinkleton?
No, sir.
Call the evidentiary record will close. Matters ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Commissioner Wolford has moved to approve. Commissioner Weiser has seconded. All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Motion passes 8 votes in favor. Last item on the agenda this morning is docket number 057A, 2024-08, Tapstone Oilfield Disposal of Arkansas, LLC. Mr. Pinkleton is the attorney of record. Subject is request for well abandonment status. Location is section 10, township 8 north, range 28 west. County is Franklin, field is Cecil. Any recusals on this matter, commissioners? Now, for the record, there were none. Mr. Pinkleton, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you. Commission staff would move for admission of pre-filed exhibits, including Exhibit A, order number 007-2023-01. Exhibit B is the notice of violation that is dated January 12, 2024. Exhibit C is the Commission Form 1 organization report with this operator. Exhibit D is the affidavit of notice. Exhibit E is the copy of notice of hearing. And Exhibit F is the proof of public notice from the Arkansas Democratic Gazette. Commission staff will move for admission of each of these exhibits into the record.
Motion is granted. Those exhibits are made part of the record.
Chairman Langley, your previous question, this is the exact same operator. Hearing is very similar to that one because I think the grandson did appear at that one, moved for a leave. And under the order number 007-2023-01, they were given a certain to restore the well into use. So at this time, I would ask for testimony from Mr.
Looney, swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth. Thank you.
Mr. Looney, you're aware that this application has been filed for a request for well abandonment, correct? You're aware that the commission previously entered an order, specifically order number 007-2023-01 against this operator regarding the Flanagan Tom 1 well?
Correct.
Okay. At this time, based on the records that we have and its of the well, has this operator complied with order number 007-2023-01?
No, so they have not.
Why have they not complied with this order?
They have not maintained the integrity test that's required, and after 1 year, they have not.
There are some photographs for you at this time. I believe they are pre-marked as Exhibit G under document 057. Can you please explain to the commission what these photographs show?
Yes, similar to the earlier docket, this is compilation photos of the well and the equipment on site. The top left is a picture of the sign. Top right is the well, trailer in the background. Bottom left is that trailer again. Bottom right is the propane tank sitting out there. Next page is overview of the sump of the vat coming into the facility. Picture on the right side is an overview of the tanks. Some more of the facility on site. Page 3 shows some more equipment on the top left and top right inside probably a pump shed coming out of the tank battery. And, bottom left is overview of containment, part of the containment area anyway, with, what looks like maybe a chemical tank or something there. Bottom right is shed, looks like all fire coming in and out of the facility, perhaps their electrical.
So just to confirm, no mechanical integrity test has been initiated or completed in compliance with the order, correct?
Correct.
The well has not been closed.
Correct.
And the well has not been put back into use by the operators.
That is correct.
Nothing further for this witness.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Looney? Commissioner Wolford?
Jerry, how do you secure these locations? You know, some of the stuff's got wheels on it.
That's always been a difficult, task. We'll put some placards out, but that's an honor system, right? We've had pumping units throw wings and fly away. Haven't figured that out yet, they have. But we try to make routine visits, but it can leave us one day, so it's impossible.
Any other commissioners?
What town is this close to?
South of Ozark, but I don't, it's in the old fairway area, on the town, or
Six inches wide.
I guess that's probably the town goes, something large. Go south of the river, Ozark to get there, but there's some other small areas, so maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Ms. Pinkerton, anything else you'd like to add?
Just for housekeeping, make sure that Exhibit G has been moved for admission.
I'm not certain. Belt and suspenders, motion to admit Exhibit B is granted. Exhibit B is part of the record.
Thank you. Just to clarify, there is bond on this well as well, I believe.
Thank you, sir. All right. At this juncture, I will call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. Matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission? Chair Lane, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Commissioner Leiner has made a second. All in favor, show of hands. Commissioner Smith, are you a yes on that one too?
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Motion passes 8 votes in favor. All right. On our open docket, the commission will now hear public comments concerning the following areas of commission jurisdiction. Whether or not waste of oil and or gas is taking place or is reasonably imminent. The optimum equitable rate of production for each controlled source of supply. Whether or not any rules or regulations currently in effect should be considered for revision, or if additional rules should be considered, and any other matters brought before the commission over which it has jurisdiction. I'll note for the record there were none assembled in the room. Wish to speak to any of the matters in the open docket. So, Director, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. The minutes from last hearing that was scheduled stand as read and be posted on the website. Now, just a couple things. Last hearing, I think Commissioner Wolford requested a review of our plugging program. Mr. Looney has compiled some statistics on that. We'd be glad to send those out, but if he could go over those right now, just as a review for what we have. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, quite honestly, I did this on the fly starting Friday because I didn't remember, but so I'll try to do something more formal and have a handout perhaps for September. But as of Friday before last, we had plugged 76 wells. The total cost on the operational boots on the ground is just over 1.8 million. That sounds a lot when you think about just well plugging. It's think about going to a well site. we had to find the wells, we had to build the well sites, and we had to build the roads to the well site. So start adding in all those costs, and then, oh, by the way, we had to de-water 400 acres and relocate animals. So, even, as I said before the contractor even got started, we hired nuisance animal control. We spent approximately $147,000 on nuisance animal control. We have blown up over 55 beaver dams. And I think we're north of that. That's the last number I remember seeing. Road and location work is about $734,000. That's been quite the lion's share. We knew it would be a higher number going in, just didn't know how high. We've used a lot more rock than I estimated, quite frankly. I didn't have a good idea of how much rock we would need. We've used a lot of rock to rebuild those. Well servicing, $250,000. Forestry's been minimal, $3,100. Luckily, we haven't had too many wells with junk in the hole. We've only spent $28,000 on fishing tool rentals, so we've been very fortunate so far. We've pretty much gone to bottom in most all of them. Vacuum truck service, we've got one there every day, 8 to 10 hours a day, if not two sometimes. That's been about $75,000. So, like I said, all told, what's on the ground is just over 1.8 million. And then we have the additional UAV costs that occurs on the front end as far as equipment there, which I believe, I don't have that number in my head. It seemed like it was somewhere right about
400,000, right?
So puts us at 2.2 out of our $5.6 billion award, I believe.
This grant's the $5 million grant.
This is the initial grant.
Initial grant, which was just 5.
It was, okay. That was a little over 5. Okay, I'm maybe confused. That was the grant. We started with 227 wells. We've taken away some. We've added some like today. We're still in the 230-ish number. So we plugged 76. We found approximately 100 more wells that we know through observations that are there. Now we still have some 50 to 60 that we don't know about. We haven't found them yet. We tried to find most of them. We've been unsuccessful so far, but several wells we've kind of come back through the files and scrubbed through every piece of paper and plotted it out on all topo, got us a calculated GPS. Got taking time. We've had a lot of luck finding it. Our staff, can't brag on our staff enough, really. You think about going through the woods, trying to find something that may be sticking up out of the ground 4 inches, because that's all the casing that was left. You've got anywhere from 10 to 40 years of growth forestry out there. But we have done an amazing job of finding wells based upon projected GPS and going out there with a handheld GPS and start looking on the ground, trying to find it with a machete. So that's what a lot of this has been about in the hills. And then of course, when we get the water off the property, it's the same way.
So all this was funded with federal grant. The first grant we received was $5 million. So this 227 well project around Stevens, that $5 million is funded for that. The second grant is a $5.6 million grant, which we received just this summer. And we're in the process then of using that to plug wells up in North Arkansas. And then the rest of the wells outside of Stevens and right. I think there was, trying to remember, there were 70 some wells, I believe, abandoned in North Arkansas. Those are up in the Fayetteville, or in the Fayetteville, Washington County area. The rest of them are down in the basin.
They're in Madison County.
Right.
Large number.
So our hope is to use the second federal grant to basically get all those And then, break the rest of the funds between South Arkansas and North Arkansas to as many of the wells are. The total federal grants for both of those programs will be $10.6 million. So we're trying to stretch out, go as far as we can with it.
We're talking that's
Right.
so.
I mean, the landowners who want them. We haven't broached that yet. That will be a concerted effort, because we've already touched base with some of those landowners, and you're right, they do not want those. So
Larry, how much did you say that second grant was for? 5.6?
5.6 million.
Okay.
And some change.
Okay. I got a question for Gary, if I can ask you. The UAV cost, what all is that, Gary? The 400,000.
What that consists of, and Dan just left the room, we purchased, I think, 3 heavy lift UAVs, along with instrument packages, where what the primary cost is. There's a magnetometer instrument package, their gas detector instrument package, ground penetrating radar instrument package, LiDAR instrument package, and I think that's it. But some of those,
So is that what we had approved prior to this project?
that was part of the grant we got from the federal government, covered those costs to attempt to locate these wells, primary in Stevens, that we can't locate.
Okay, so I just wondered if we were tagging that cost on to this grant money.
Oh, it's part of the grant money, yes.
Okay.
It was part of the grant money. It was approved by in our grant application. Yeah, some of those instrument packages, which are fairly sophisticated, are $30,000 or $50,000 instrument packages.
Okay.
That's all part of the first $5 million grant.
Okay. And what happens to that when the plugins over? It's just ours to keep.
That stays with the commission to use for well location, yes.
Okay.
We have 3 pilots who all went to official training school, not just backyard training, it was an official class.
I was going to say, Jerry can fly that thing.
They're all FAA certified. 2 things, 2 generic things is, number one, as you recall, you passed Rule H1 and then a companion rule, DEQ Rule 1. A public hearing for those rules will be on Thursday of this week. Once they're approved, you'll go through the rule committee process. Final approval, that's a transfer of the surface facilities from DEQ to Oil and Gas Commission for commercial disposal wells and large capacity injection wells. Those rules, by the time they get through the process, probably won't be effective until maybe January of next year.
I've got a commercial well because it had over 1,000
Right.
barrels of storage.
That's included in this rule package.
Thank you for the answer.
Also want to remind everyone, Commissioner Loss, you may or may not know, but the Office of State Geologist published a report earlier this year. I think it was in Sierra, I think it was in May or April, on gas storage capacity in North Arkansas.
Last year.
Was it 23 last year? And how much cubic feet did you identify? I think there was 27 potential fields. Right. I think it was billions of cubic feet of storage capacity that we identified in North Arkansas.
It could be used.
That could be used, yes.
That's good. Black Hill seen that before.
It was publicly sent out.
You should have looked for more.
I think people are looking at that report, yes.
But, you know, if they want to establish field they are, you know, that makes sense. We didn't really talk about too much about the ones that were already established. We just identified other areas.
And the last thing to remember, next month, our hearing is in El Dorado. It will be at the South Arkansas College facility, not at our oil and gas facility. We have that facility scheduled for a 2-day potential hearing. Don't know if it'll take that long or not, but it'll be at that facility. And it's an in-person hearing for all the commissioners, so expect everyone to travel down for that.
On the heels of that, I thank y'all for letting me Zoom today. I know it's highly requested and recommended that everybody attend the Little Rock hearings in person. But I couldn't because I had surgery a week ago today, but I appreciate y'all letting me Zoom.
So you didn't want to drive on painkillers, huh, Jim?
Well, I actually am not, hadn't taken any in a few days, but as therapy gets harder, I think I'll probably have to again before it's over. But for the record, I'm not in Florida. I'm at my house.
I mentioned that going in.
Yeah, no, I'm going to therapy.
That's all I have for
Thank y'all.
Carol, go ahead.
Just talk
Okay. Muriel, we're making any interest on our big money we got right now. Do we get to make interest?
Yes, all that is interest bearing on both of our accounts.
Okay.
I don't know how much offhand. They're both interest bearing accounts now.
Anything else? This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.